Hey guys, Sonic Smash Bros here, and Speed Duel Format King of Games is done for this month as well. Now, I was planning on doing this with a different deck, but that caps at about Legend 2 for now, in part because the Predator Plant's running around, in part because it's also outdated. So for now, we're looking at something a bit different. Now, most of you know just how broken Revolution de Fleur is on Sherry. Yes, the S's in that skill name are silent. I did not know that until fairly recently. But it's to the point where there are so many Fleur variants. Zombie World de Fleur, Orcus de Fleur, Invoke de Fleur, Dogmatica de Fleur for some reason. I hate it too, trust me. Necrons de Fleur, Fishbalkin de Fleur, you name it. There are way too many Fleur variants. But there is actually a way to use Sherry's actual cards for a proper Fleur build and still have it work and reach King of Games. It's even actually pretty solid across the board in general. So, let's take a look at that, shall we? Yes, we are playing 30 cards, it's pretty obvious why, but first, let's look at the skill, Revolution de Fleur. You can use each of the skill's effects once per duel, if your deck, excluding the extra deck, contains 6 or more spellcaster monsters with 2900 attack exactly. First effect. At the beginning of your first turn, for the rest of this duel, you can normal summon or set dark spellcaster monsters with 2900 attack without tributing. If you activated the skill on the second turn, also play one Necro Fleur from outside of your deck to your field. Necro Fleur states, if this card is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Sorcerer to Fleur from your deck, not once per turn. Second effect. Shuffle one card from your hand to the deck, then play one Necro Synchron from your deck to your field. Then you can decrease the level of one monster in your field by up to 2. Third and final effect, send one monster from your field to the graveyard, then play one Sorcerer de Fleur from your deck to your field. These combined can get a little bit ridiculous. You'll see why. So, we're starting things off with Triple Sage de Fleur. This card is a bit of a cheat. You can target one monster you control and one card on the field, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, destroy both targets. If this card is sent from the field to your graveyard, you can target one other monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and add one level 1 plant type monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect of Sage de Fleur once per turn. Double effect Veiler, we still do need at least a couple of hand traps. During your opponent's main phase, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and target one face-up effect monster your opponent controls. That face-up monster your opponent controls has all of its effects negated until the end of this turn, and this is a quick effect. Pretty standard. The Glow Up Bulb, this took me forever to get. Being the last UR in the box I actually needed, and it was a main box no less. Pain. If this card is in the graveyard, you can send the top card of your deck to the grave. If you do, special summon this card. You can only use this effect once per duel. This is not a once per turn, this is a once per duel. So once you've used it, that's it. So make it count. Triple Noble Knight's Shield Bearer, the good version from Sherry's Battle Drop. If this card is normal or special summon, you can banish one light monster from your graveyard, draw one card. Both versions of this card share that effect, but this is the only one that has the next one. You can banish this card from your hand or field, add one level 6 or lower wind beast type monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use one Noble Knight's Shield Bearer effect per turn, only once that turn. You're going to be banishing this more often than not. You pretty much never actually summon this thing. Triple Horse of the Floral Knights. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one light Noble Knight monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn during your main phase, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using this card you control and other monsters in your hand or on your field as fusion material. This is the version from the Striker expansion main box. The better version, by far. Double Necro Synchron. If we draw both of these, we lose. That's why we have to play 30 cards. This card's name becomes Fleur Synchron while on the field or in the graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of Necro Synchron once per turn. You can target one other face-up monster you control, increase its level by 2 until the end of this turn. That can cheat out more things than you might think, by the way. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material for a wind monster, you can special summon one level 1 plant monster from your deck. Triple Sorcier de Fleur, we need this for the skill. If this card is normally special summoned, target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your field, but it cannot attack your opponent directly, and it is destroyed during the end phase of this turn. You can only use this effect once per turn, and it is a forced activate on summon. Lastly for monsters, Double White Steed of the Floral Knights. This comes in handy in the dumbest ways possible sometimes. If you control a level 2 or lower monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. You can only special summon White Steed of the Floral Knights once per turn this way. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one card you control. Negate the attack. If you do, destroy that targeted card. This effect is once per turn, but we have some interesting ways to make this used in dumb situations. We'll get to that later. On to spells and traps, starting with Double Forbidden Droplet. Send any number of other cards from your hand and or field to the graveyard. Choose that many effect monsters your opponent controls. Until the end of this turn, their attack is halved. Also, their effects are negated. In response to this card's activation, your opponent cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with the same original type, monster, spell, or trap respectively, as the cards you sent to the graveyard to activate this card. And you can only activate one Forbidden Droplet per turn. Lyralisks. Just Lyralisks. At this point, Lyralisks need to go because being forced to run droplets is kind of unhealthy for the game at this point, because they're still selection box exclusive. We do have a mind control in here, and there's a very interesting reason for this. Target one monster your opponent controls until the end phase, take control of that target, but it cannot declare an attack or be tributed. So, technically, you can do the same thing with, like, Crackdown. You did see 2 Crackdowns in there. The reason I do keep a mind control in there, aside from only having 2 Crackdowns, is this works on face-down monsters. Crackdown does not, so there is a bit of a niche for mind control in these situations. And, well, we're going to be using that for skill abuse, we're going to be using that for, well, Necrosynchron, sometimes being able to cheat out other monsters with their resources. You name it. Double Forbidden Lance, target a face-up monster on the field until the end of this turn, it loses 800 attack, but it's unaffected by the effects of other spell and trap cards. And finally, a deck where I can do this again, triple Cosmic Cyclone, pay 1,000, target a spell or trap on the field, and banish it. Always amazing. And lastly for spells, the One Forbidden Challenge, target a face-up monster on the field till the end of this turn, it gains 400 attack, but the effects are negated. As for the traps, as I mentioned, double Crackdown. Activate by targeting one face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of that monster. While you control that monster, it can't attack or activate effects. When that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. So, we can use this, and by extension Mind Control, to have White Steed target their resources instead of ours when negating an attack. But there's also another reason we can make use of this, and it's kind of ridiculous because it combines pretty well with a synchro monster we have in here. Speaking of synchro monsters, onto the extra deck, starting with a fusion monster, oddly enough, Centaur Mina. This is the good version from, again, the Striker expansion main box. Once per turn during your turn, when your opponent activates a trap card, quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do, set that card. You can only use each of the following effects of Centaur Mina once per turn. During your main phase, you can special summon one level 2 or lower monster from your hand or graveyard. If this card is sent to the grave as synchro material for a wind warrior type monster, you can destroy one face-up monster on the field. That special summon comes in handy way more often than it feels like it should. As for synchros, we're starting with Trishula, Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. When this card is synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. If this synchro summoned card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon one Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier from your extra deck or graveyard. Its attack becomes 3300, then have the attack of any face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. Also negate their effects. This effect is once per turn. But we don't play Trishula. Regular Trishula, that is. This is good on its own, and because of the skill being as dumb as it is, we can set this up in a way that the opponent cannot respond to. Until Trishula Zero comes out, that is. That kind of sucks when that happens, but what can you do? Our limit 1 of choice is actually Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Once per turn during the player's turn, when another monster's effect is activated, you negate the activation. If you do, destroy that monster. And if you do that, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's attack until the end of this turn. And more importantly, and I keep having to stress that you all read this, if this card battles a level 5 or higher monster your opponent controls during damage calculation, this card gains attack equal to the current attack of the opponent's monster it is battling during that damage calculation only, not once per turn. Read this effect, people. I still see people swinging in the Crystal Wing with their Hamons or Raviels. It's ridiculous. Technically, most people prefer Stellar Wind Wolfray as their limit 1, but anyway, Cyber Slash Harpy Lady, the other thing that took me forever to get, but nonetheless. For this card's Synchro Summon, you can treat one Harpy monster you control as a tuner, and this card's name becomes Harpy Lady while on the field or in the graveyard. Here's the real reason we use this thing. When a spell or trap card or effect is activated except during the damage step, you can target one monster your opponent controls or one Harpy monster you control and return it to the hand. This effect is once per turn. So combine this with Crackdown and lay on 2 monsters on the field. You take one and bounce the other. It's kind of ridiculous. Double Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Once per turn during the player's turn, when another level 5 or higher monster activates its effect on the field, you can negate the activation if you do destroy that monster. Once per turn during the player's turn, when another monster effect is activated and targets exactly one level 5 or higher monster on the field and no other cards, you can negate the activation if you do destroy that monster. If either of this card's effects destroys a monster, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack until the end of this turn. So, there's a reason we play 2 Clear Wings. 1, we don't really have many other good level 7 Synchro monsters. And for 2, Clear Wing in general means we have a safe combo route into Crystal Wing that is safe from the Nibiru. Lastly, for Synchros, Chevalier de Fleur. Ironically, if I made this on my first rank up attempt, King of Games would have been done on the first attempt, and you're gonna see why. Once during each of your turns, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and it comes up way more often than it feels like it should sometimes. Again, if I had made this on the first rank up attempt, that would have been victory, that would have been King of Games on the first attempt, but unfortunately, hindsight's 2020. As for Xyz, we have Dingirsu, the Orchestra of the Evening Star. You can only special summon Dingirsu once per turn. You can also Xyz summon this card by using an Orchestra Link monster you control as material. If a card or cards you control be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach one overlay unit from this card instead. If this card is special summoned, you can activate one of these effects. Send one card your opponent controls to the graveyard, which is what we're doing all the time, or attach one of your banished machine-type monsters to this card as an overlay unit. We could technically do that with Necro Synchron if it comes up, but who's DD Crowing a Necro Synchron unless you're trying to bring it back with Centaur Mina? And number 68, Santa Fawn the Sky Prison. There is a bit of a dumb reason for this. Gains 100 attack and defense for each monster in the graveyard. Once per turn, you can detach one overlay unit from this card. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also, neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyards at all. So, note it says, cannot be destroyed by card effects, period. Not your opponent's card effects, just card effects. Guess what comes in handy here? White Steed. So, if you're trying to dodge an attack or anything like that, and you've already used up number 68's effect, target it. You lose nothing, and the attack is negated anyway. If you're trying to board break with Asajj the Fleur and you've used the effect already, target number 68. You lose nothing, they lose something anyway. It's kind of ridiculous the synergy this has, and the Graveyard Floodgate is kind of important for dealing with Lyrilisk. It's any zombie deck in general, notably Shiranui being a pain in the neck, but what can you do? Also, screw Mizuki, just screw Mizuki. Why has that not been limit 3'd yet? But anyway. Anyway, before we get on to the replays, I just remembered I do have to talk about one alternative. That is the wrong button.
Ready to do it?
Alright, we need Synchro and Wind, because that should narrow it down quite easily. Yeah, very easily, in fact. Stellar Wind Wolfrayet. You can only control one Stellar Wind Wolfrayet, but it's limit 1 anyway. Gains 300 attack each time another monster's effect is activated, while the attack of this card is less than 4,000. Once per turn, if this card's attack is 4,000 or higher, quick effect, you can shuffle both this card and all monsters your opponent controls into the deck. It also kind of looks like a weird version of Psybeast Rhaegar. Anyone else see that? So, most builds prefer Wolfrayet. This one actually prefers Crystal Wing, and you're gonna see why. So, I'm just gonna get right to the climb proper. This took about 7 or so attempts. It would have been done in 1 if, ironically, I had made Chevalier. Breaking treacherous trap hole. Anyway.
This duel. Let's duel.
So, this is kind of a mediocre hand.
Noble Knight Shield Bearer activates its effect. Witness the majesty of...
So, you'll see how simple we can just end on Crystal Wing.
I set a card. I'm setting a card.
You'll see it more in detail when I show off one of my go-to end boards if I'm going for a full synchro end board. If you just end on Force of the Floral Knights as your opening move. It is he 1-card Crystal Wing Clear Wing end board, folks. It's ridiculous. If you hard open it, that is. Yeah, get out of here with that. And that. So, unfortunately, this guy reads Crystal Wing. I say unfortunately because it's so funny seeing them still swing into Crystal Wing with their freaking Sacred Base.
Noble Knight Shield Bearer activates its effect. Witness the majesty of Horse of the Fleur Knight.
So technically you can use Centaur Mina earlier, but you really want to conserve that resource if you are just going to end on Crystal Wing alone anyway. There's a lot of ways to make different end boards even with the pure build, but you've got to know what to use and when to use it. Necro Synchron is going to cheat a bit here. Remember how I said this can cheat out more things than you might think? Guess what was about to come out? As you can see, Dingirsu. That is kind of ridiculous. The fact that Necro Synchron can do that. Now, amusingly, I brick like no tomorrow here. And, of course, it's in Battle Chronicle. I always seem to break against Battle Chronicle for whatever reason, but in a way this worked. So, Necro Synchron, we're just gonna do the usual. In this situation, we're gonna be forced to end on Cyber Slash, but that's still pretty good.
Here I go. I draw. Destroy.
So, just Blue Eyes, you know the drill by now. You've seen me profile Blue Eyes at least twice, so you know I know what I'm doing. This guy clearly doesn't seem to. As proven right there.
My set salve. I activate a quick play spell.
I said it, I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw. Here comes. Show yourself.
And so,
Let's
Clear Wing just gonna do its thing.
My monster attacks you directly.
With only 2 summons, yeah, there you go. Get out of here, Summon Breaker. And please, for the love of God, ban that field spell. It just needs to go at this point.
To get to know one another. Your cards told me who you really are, as did mine for you.
Anyway, that aside, moving on. We've got ourselves a Fleur mirror. More accurately, Pure Fleur versus Zombie World de Fleur. Pure in all of its Floral Knight's glory.
I am. You will duel. This victory. Witness the
So,
I activate Horse of the Fleur Knight. I knew you.
yeah, I could have ended on Crystal Wing and Clear Wing, but Valor. But even then, we don't care about getting hit with 1 Valor. We're fine there.
I activate Necro Synchron's effect. I'm setting a guard.
Amusingly enough, that means the full combo for this can play through DD Crow as well. Because we made Crystal Wing before needing anything from the graveyard. So the only hand trap that really consistently stops us, most of the time anyway, is Effect Veiler. So, old enemy Hastor. We're just gonna have to say no to that, good sir. I also forgot about Sun Avalon to Fleur, and seeing Necro Synchron in the graveyard actually reminded me. That's another version of it. Casually burning resources.
I activate my monster. Here I go. He's not.
Yeah, get that out of here. So, this guy misplays so badly. I don't know how, but you can really tell it's one of those guys that barely plays the game and only got to Legend by being carried. In this case, Predaplant. And to make matters worse, I realistically auto-lose here because if you go first, you may as well surrender. Any smart Predaplant player will break your board for free and just have lethal in the same turn going second. You need to go second into Predaplants, or you may as well just surrender.
Let us have fun.
Okay.
Of course, now I open the combo.
Victory is within. I activate Force of the Pure Knight's effect. Noble Knight Shield Bearer activates its
So I could have actually gone for a bigger combo here because I have the biggest combo here. Because it could have ended on Crystal Wing and number 68. You want to guess why I didn't do that? It's Predaplants. Now if it was, say, Ghost Trick or something, I low-key might have just gone for it.
I activate my monsters. Show yourself.
But there you go. Minus me playing that second clear wing a little bit early, as you can see, this is Nibiru's save. This is also DD Crow save.
That ends my turn.
Would you like to see
It's your turn.
I'll enjoy. I'll be
Breaking Predator counter, Drosophilium Hydra, or Drosophilum Hydra, whatever.
From my hand.
Cosmic. That's unfortunate.
My set card.
Level 5. I activate the spell card. Fusion Summon. Appear.
So, Ambulomelodus, we get it.
Lisp's effect activates
Just
when
what
it's
I
sent
was
to the
waiting
graveyard.
for.
We're just gonna casually Veiler that, and at this point, he still breaks my board. Because guess what he still gets? Orphis Scorpio!
By summoning Predaplant, Darling
And
Predaplant
pitches
special
Clematis Sundew.
summons Darling Tonia Cobra. From my hand, I activate my spell card. I activate the spell card, Fusion Summon. Go, I'll set a card. Here's what I'll do.
So, he could have broken my board and left me with nothing. What does he do? He makes Nightmare Unicorn! Why would you do this? Like, seriously, why?
I activate my monster.
Did you forget about the targeting protection there, bro? Seriously, why would you do that? You had Saraceni in hand, you had a full board break, so even if I did get past you,
This will be fun. My turn.
why would you do that?
I'm setting a card. Let's
You just
go.
threw!
I attack you directly.
Like, why?
Even
Out of
you
all the
must
throws I
realize
have seen, this has to be one of the
I end my
worst.
turn.
You're starting to from my hand.
Night Beam, I don't care. I'm more freaking baffled by the fact that you did that. Why would you do that?
I was willing
If
to
I draw a
end you
certain card,
painlessly.
I go.
How are
Not
you
anymore.
this ignorant, my guy? Why? Why would you do that? I should have auto-lost this, because I was going first! Why would you do that? Oh my god, why would you do that? Anyway. Like, I am mentally broken by that. Like, why would you do that? There was no reason.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So, yeah, we're not seeing Synchro Magician with Odd Eyes Wing Acceleration. We're seeing old school Odd Eyes.
Duel.
My turf from my hand.
Pendulum calls back and Power of the Guardian. That should tell you everything you need to know about this guy.
I set the pendulum scale. I set the pendulum scale. Lady. I activate a pendulum effect. I pendulum summon a monster. Turn up. Odd Eyes pendulum. I know what to do. John Shang Magician. Can't wait to see what you
And
do.
on that note,
I end my turn.
this is literally just over.
Here comes. Quite steep.
They have to respawn right there, and they're not going to know that usually.
I activate
This also gets around Crystal Wing, funny enough. Up until the Trishula Zero, anyway.
I do my monsters together. Synchro summon.
But yeah, because of the fact that we didn't have to worry about any extra responses to Trishula Zero, we could just use Necrosynchron's effect there.
I activate my monsters effect.
My game is
Banish those. Now here's how the rest of this would have gone. Normal summon Sarge the Fleur. Mind Control takes the other monster. Skill sends that to the grave, gets Sorcier. Dingirsu takes out his Pendulum Scale. That's just it. But with that, Floral Knight's pure Fleur is actually in King of Games. Now, honestly, as broken as this skill is, as much as I would love for it to be restricted to where the only version that really gets all this stuff is the Floral Knights build, this deck is still fun. This version of it is actually sick. You have so many ways to use your resources, so many ways to play out your combo lines, so many ways to at least guarantee that you have some recovery thanks to Centaur Mina, and you just have a lot of ways to just play the game in general. And going second, you get even more. Which you actually need in the freaking credit plans, but nonetheless. You have a pretty versatile selection of cards for just almost any situation, really. The only negative is, as usual, opening double Necrosynchron. That just sucks. You pretty much auto-lose at that point. Go first in the Predator plans, you auto-lose. But other than that, you can deal with most end boards if you know what you're doing. I, of course, was an idiot and didn't make Chevalier during my first rank-up attempt, but what can you do? I was still kind of learning things, okay? I'm still learning this as I go, because if you're playing the Floral Knights build, it is actually tricky. Because you need to know exactly what resources to use for what matchup, and hopefully you guessed right. If you guessed wrong, you probably lose. Anyway, with that said, that's kind of all I can really say on things. Fleur is definitely something that needs to get hit, well, the skill definitely does anyway. Maybe Sarge the 3 as well, but I'm not sure, because if the skill gets locked to the Floral Knights and Fleur build, basically only allowing you to summon Floral Knights monsters, Fleur monsters, Light Noble Knight monsters, so Shield Bearer, and Tuner monsters, then it should be okay. Or at least if the deck is only allowed to contain those, so they can't, like, say, do a lot more unintended stuff. But nonetheless. Yeah. Hopefully the skill changes so that the Floral Knights version is the one that's left standing, you know, Sherry's actual cards, because this build is fun. I'm still learning it, mind you, as I go, because it's actually pretty tricky, but it's the fun kind of challenge, you know what I'm saying? But with that, that's all I have to say. So until the next video, whatever it might be, later guys.